With Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania soon set to arrive, it's time to take a look back to 2018, and with it, one of the biggest disappointments to ever hit the MCU in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Insight into my experience with this movie, I actually saw it at a midnight screening double bill. We watched the first Ant-Man and then were slammed straight in to the second one, going from a fantastic movie that I loved and loved actually being able to see on the big screen for the first time, straight into Ant-Man and the Wasp was definitely an experience to say the least. I walked out of the movie being a little bit conflicted with my thoughts, but as the years have passed, I went from feeling quite mixed on it to just pretty much disliking it entirely for several different reasons. But before we get into my reasons for why I do not like this movie, I want to know what you think of it. If you like it, if you disagree with me, jump down below, engage in the conversation. It'll be great to hear. And if you agree with me and don't like this movie also jump down below and let me know. Either way, let's get into what works with Ant-Man and the Wasp. Paul Rudd as Scott, Michael Douglas as Hank, Evangeline Lilly as Wasp, and Michael Pena as Luis, providing the nice bit of side humour, are all once again fantastic even when they're suffering at the hands of poor material. Wasp has a much bigger role in this movie, and in many ways, it's more hair film than it actually is Ant-Man's, which is fine, but I didn't feel like they did enough to make invested in the character. But it was great to see her take a more prominent role here nonetheless. Don the costume and reunite with her mum, played very well by Michelle Pfeiffer. Scott, after the events of Civil War, is on house arrest and has several great scenes throughout the film, and his relationship to Cassie is fantastic and something I'm happy we got to see more of. As for Hank and Janet, I really loved seeing the opening scene and flashback to their time in 1987 on the mission that he would ultimately lose her on for so long. As for the story here, unlike the first movie where it's very serviceable but it's simplistic and fun, this time it's just kinda lackluster and convoluted. Nothing really happens. Ghost as the villain is uninteresting and honestly just very boring to me, and to make matters worse, the movie brings in, for some reason, another villain played by Walton Goggins who's not only boring but downright forgettable, and serves as an absolute drag on this movie's runtime, which is already suffering from really bad pace. The film continues its crimes on wasting great actors in roles. Also, when it comes to the great Lawrence Fishburne, I don't think we will ever see this character again, but if we do, I can only hope he actually has something that feels worth being in the film for. Now, to its credit, because this film isn't all bad, as we've mentioned a few good points with the casting, the action is fun. It's once again engaging with the audience and the set pieces around there, and it's something brought over from that first film and improved upon that I really did enjoy. However, the humour, unlike the first film, misses far more than it hit. And so, with lame characters, odd choices and executions of the villain, and an overall very fragile and weak narrative, you're left with this drag of a movie that just feels so incredibly meh. And I heard someone else say this, and I actually heavily agree, which is why I'm also gonna say it. This movie made me realise just how important it was for me to be able to love the characters in the first film for why I love that movie so much. Because even if I enjoyed half the characters here as much as I did those main characters in that first movie, I would have been able to ignore a lot of the problems and they would have faded off into the background. But because I didn't, they ended up sticking out like a very sore thumb. Personally, watching this movie feels like kind of a massive chore to me. But granted, it does have its fans, and I'm very happy some people at least find some form of worth in going back and rewatching this movie. To me, I just can't rewatch it without seeing the drastic amount of flaws in it, to the point where I'm incredibly let down by it. I can only hope Quantumania doesn't fall into the same traps that this movie fell into and doesn't share the same fate as it. Anyway guys, that's what I think on Ant-Man and the Wasp. I am incredibly let down by this film, and 5 years on since its release, nothing really has changed there. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Take it easy guys. Bye.